Shalom everyone, and this week we are studying Parashat VaYehi. And Parashat VaYehi is the last parasha of the book of Genesis, Bereshit. So we are completing the whole book of Bereshit, which is the most monumental, which means this book basically is laying the foundations for every human's spiritual growth and journey. You'll find everything over here. So it's not by coincidence that the name of the parasha, which is also the first word, is VaYehi, which means and he lived. Jacob, VaYehi Yaakov, and he lived, which means, and it's not just he lived, just giving us a factual information that Jacob lived 17 years in Egypt. But the Zohar is saying we are talking, he arrived to the level of really true living. And let us explain what does it mean. The name of the parasha is VaYehi, while it is the sealing parasha of the whole book of Bereshit, of Genesis, which is the book, the beginning of the whole Torah. And now we can see that in the explanation of the Zohar. And first of all, for the simple understanding, you can find it with Rashi. Rashi doesn't say it, but other commentators say it. That, you know what, let's go directly to the Zohar. And the Zohar says as follows. VaYehi Yaakov beretz Mitzrayim 17 shana. Amar Rabbi Yosef. I'm reading the first verse from the Zohar of Perush HaSulam, the Sulam commentary of Rabbi Ashler. Liba chama b'nvuah b'Mitzrayim, dehon banoi b'chama galawan, ad acha v'ad idana deketz meshicha. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Jacob's heart saw in a level of prophecy in Egypt that his sons are going to be in many exiles. All the exile, he could see that from that moment of his life, that they were in the beginning of the Egyptian exile, till the end of days, till the coming of the Mashiach, including all the different exiles. Verse 2, which is also very important. However, he did not reach that level that is called VaYehi, which is a level of prophecy, okay, only in Egypt. Ela b'Mitzrayim, vehi nevuah chashuva, which is a very important and high level prophecy. Shelo yitnabu k'mota velo higia leshum ish mibnei haneviim. No one ever prophesied like him, level or reach that level of prophecy like any other prophets. Ish mibnei haneviim ela lo ulemoshe bilvad. Only Jacob and Moses reached that high level of prophecy. B'Moshe katuv ki lo yirani adam v'chai. How do you know? Because here it says VaYehi. The shoresh, the source of the word VaYehi is chai, life. Okay, and that's it. And also with Moses, it says, when Moses is asking God, show me your glory. And God says, Ki lo yirani adam v'chai. A human being cannot see me and be chai. Okay, and that is in later on we'll see that it's in Exodus. Okay, I think in Parashat Kitisa. And what does it mean? במשה כתוב כי לא ירני אדם וחי, ביעקב כתוב ויחי יעקב. Both with Moses and with Jacob, the name Chai, VaYehi, which is the same word, is mentioned. VaYehi, says Rabbi Ashler. What does it mean VaYehi? Nevuata says, I'm sorry, the Zohar says Nevuata denachata me'aspaklaria denahara. What does it mean Chai? This is a prophecy that descends from the shining mirror, which is Sfirat Tiferet. Remember that? The shining mirror. What does it mean, the shining mirror? Perush. Rabbi Ashlag explained, and that is a very important wisdom that the Zohar is sharing with us. Now, Perush. Ki ha'arat ha'chokhmah, the illumination of Sefirat Chokhmah, Hisod Chaim, is the secret of life, Chaim. Not just living. You know, some people just, you know, how are you? I'm alive. We're talking about real life, real living. כמו שכתוב, והחוכמה, as it says, okay, והחוכמה תחיה בעליה. I don't remember which, just a second, where is it? It's a very important verse. Let me Google it. Forgot the, I think it's Proverbs. Okay, no, I'm sorry. It's Ecclesiastics 7:12. And it says, wisdom will give life or will resurrect the one who achieves it. Okay, which means there is a connection between wisdom, and we are talking about the wisdom that the Zohar is talking about, not the wisdom of academics. Because in academics, we know we have the Zohar, the Kabbalists call it somebody that he has knowledge, accumulated knowledge in the academics, that could be a donkey carrying books. Okay, the books do not help the donkey, and the donkey does not help the books. There's no interaction. We're talking about wisdom in the full extent, the Kabbalistic extent. Wisdom means the ability to connect to Sfirat Chokhmah. And what does it mean? There are two aspects. VaChokhmah techaye et ba'alea. It means connecting to the essence of life, which means the high wire, the real concentrated essence of living power, okay? And that's life. And it's also Ezeu Chacham, who is the wise person? The one who can see what's coming, what is going to be born. What does it mean? It's the ability to see the whole scope all at once, okay? And this is the level of the prophecy of the word VaYehi, which applies to Jacob and Moses, the only two people that reach that high level of prophecy. Okay, ויש הפרש גדול, and there's a big difference בין נבואת יעקב ומשה לשאר הנביאים, between the prophecy of Moses and Jacob and the prophecy of the other prophets mentioned in the rest of the Tanakh. כי שאר הנביאים קיבלו נבואתם מנצח והוד זעיר אנפין. The other prophets, they received their prophecy from the levels of Sefirot, Netzach, and Hod, which is, Netzach and Hod, whoever knows the tree of life, this is the lower triangle. The lower triangle, it means this is really low, which means it's just one step above the regular level of consciousness of most people. So the prophets, they were in a higher level, but not so high as the level that Moses and Jacob achieved. Now, this is also the level of Netzach Hod Yesod, which is also the lower triangle. This is also the realm of the Malchut, which is also called Aspaklaria She'eina Meira. This is a mirror that do not shine, which means that's why all the prophets were prophesying with the word Ko. Ko Amar Hashem. A lot of the prophecies, Isaiah, Ezekiel, most of them use the word Ko. Ko is a symbol like you have in Chanukah, Ko, Kafei. Ko is the number 25. What is 25? It's the fifth of the fifth. Malchut of Malchut. Ko is the level of Malchut, which means this is the level of the lower level, okay? And their prophecy is called the non-shining mirror. What does it mean? They saw things, as Zohar says, like shadows. They saw shadows casted on the wall, and from these shadows, they were trying to extrapolate what is it they have seen. So they just, in their level, which means they were like connected to the Shekhinah, to the vessel, and to the vessel that is shining, but it was a shining like shadows, which means this is like an explanation of a prophecy. They never saw the picture. It's like Ben Adam Matawe. It's like God speaks to the prophet. You, Ben Adam, the son of Adam. Adam, what do you see? See, I see a tree of almonds. Okay, okay, that means so and so. I see a big pot, and that means so they will see the symbols and extrapolate to what those symbols mean. So they were in a kind of a prophecy level, but they were like, the ability is like seeing shadows behind the wall. While Moses and Jacob, they were the only ones who saw it like aspaklaya meira, like a shining mirror, which means like watching TV. They saw it like we call it, like we see a live broadcasting on TV. They just saw it the way it is. Okay? Now, how would you get to that level of such like real illumination coming from Chokhmah? Okay? Which is, the Zohar says, that level is coming from above, from the upper triangle. That's Tiferet and up. Okay? How did they receive that? And how come they received that light and they still survived? It didn't kill them. And the answer is, when it says to Moses in the same place, Ki lo irani adam v'chai, in Parashat Kitisa, in the book of Exodus, a human being cannot see me and live, but you can see my back. Does God have a back? Now, are we trying to materialize the godly universe? No, we're talking about what is called the language of branches. The language of branches means that you're using a language of human perception. However, you do not mean for these words and that worldly meaning, but each perception in a human mind is called by the Kabbalists, it is a branch of a higher perception of the real universe. Okay? So you're not, it's like the same thing when you write a word, okay? Let's say you write the letter O. You ask somebody who does not know English, what is this? And he says, that's a circle. Okay, but if you train him to learn English, he doesn't see a circle anymore, he sees an O, okay? Or if it's a word, let's say over, sees a circle, he sees this shape and another shape, he sees these kind of shapes. But the moment you know how to read, you don't see the shapes anymore, you see the word, but that's because you're training your brain to see something that is not there. You see a word which is an abstract sound and meaning that has nothing to do with the shapes of the letters. Correct? The same thing, when you learn Kabbalah, you learn to read reality. Okay, so when you say God's back, what does it mean back? Can God has a face or a back? No, we are talking about face means direct connection, and back means indirect connection. It's a connection via or via something that an intermediate. The same way right now, you do not hear me directly. You hear my back. What do you mean my back? You hear my voice interacting with the computer system, turning it into electronic signals. These signals are being translated into a picture in your computer, and then you see me. So you see my back. What does it mean? You don't see me directly, but you see and the interaction with my image. Is that clear? That's seeing my back. Same thing. We cannot see God. Seeing God is like seeing the sun with a naked eye in the middle of summer. That means your retina will be burned. You cannot see the sun. However, you can see the sunlight when it comes back through an object. So what do you see? You don't see the sun, but you see the returning light, the light that is returning from objects. This light we can bear. That's called the back. Okay, you see the results of the interaction. So you can't see God, you can see the result of the interaction with God's light. Okay? So even Moses and Jacob did not really see God, but they saw the interaction. Okay? But they saw the interaction in the least disturbing or disturbed feature or way. And that's what it says. And that's Rabbi Ashlag adds, and that's why Jacob did not reach the level of prophecy of VaYehi, which is the highest level of prophecy. That level did not descend on him only when he was in Egypt. Why Egypt? Because again words. The word Egypt is a name of a geographic location, which everybody knows as Egypt. But in Hebrew, it's not just a geographical location, it's a state of mind. Everything is a state of mind. Like in Hebrew, the words have meanings of simplistic understanding of physical senses, but each word also has what it is reflecting from the upper universe. So the word Egypt comes from the word Meitzarim, Mitzrayim. Okay, by the way, in Arabic, the word is Masr, which is like really an extension of Hebrew, not of the Greek, although Egypt was Hellenized many years ago and for many, many, many years. Still, the original Hebrew word has been preserved, El Masr, which means in Hebrew, Mem Tzadik Reish, Masar, means the narrow place, which means Egypt is a place that is narrow, confined for the soul. Okay? So how come, the Zohar is asking, both Moses and Jacob arrived to that level in Egypt, not in Jerusalem? How could that be? Since both were receiving the prophecy descending from the upper triangle level, which is the highest level, that's why it says, and you will see my back, but my face cannot be seen. So how can you reach that level of prophecy only when you interact the back? What I mean the back, which is Mitzrayim, which is the back. Now, what does it mean? I'll explain. So משמע, כיוון שלא קיבל מבחינת הפנים אל המאחורי, הוא חי. דהיינו בהמשכת החוכמה, וכן ביעקב כתוב ויחי יעקב, שהמשכת החוכמה, they were able to draw that level of prophecy only when they connected to that place that is called back, Mitzrayim, confinement, which is also limitation and ache. וזה שכתוב, I'll explain more, and that's what it says, VaYehi, נבואתה דנחתה מספקלה יד נערה. That prophecy that descended from the shining mirror, illuminating mirror. אמנם יש הפרש גם בין יעקב ומשה. Of course, Jacob and Moses were not exactly from the same level, prophesying from the same level, because Jacob was from Tiferet, Moses reached the innermost, the inner part of Tiferet, which is Da'at, which is much higher than Jacob. Okay, now let me explain what the Zohar is saying, that it's an amazing, very powerful concept. Let me explain it in this way. When we read Parashat VaYehi always during the month of Capricorn. And Capricorn is ruled by planet Saturn. Now, planet Saturn is in Western astrology is a very devastating planet because it's the destroying planet. And Rabbi Avraham ben David of Poskiris, in his commentary on the book of formation, he says that on one hand, Saturn is responsible for destruction and negativity and darkness and all kinds of calamities on one hand. On the other hand, he is the planet of wisdom. So he's asking, how could these two live together? Destruction and wisdom. And he says destruction of the physical essence. So because planet Saturn represents that aspect of universal power of not wanting any physical pleasure. Okay? And therefore, he says, because Jews are being ruled by the planet of Saturn, they are always in trouble and they're always reaching wisdom like other nations do not, which we know that. We know that big number, much bigger than a number of Jews in Western society, they get Nobel Prizes and stuff like this. Oh, with, much, much bigger number than any of their percentage in society. And why Rabbi Avraham ben David of Poskiris, he said, the Rabbah is saying the key is because planet Saturn does not allow them to have nice, easy life. And we know the necessity is the mother of all invention. When people, like, let's say, I said it many times, people in Polynesia, in which the weather is most of the time warm and nice, and there always rains, and it's very easy to find fruits growing, like Garden of Eden fruits growing on the trees. Those people living on those islands in Hawaii and other places in Polynesia, whatever, that their lives were never that horrible, never droughts and stuff like this. So they never invented any wisdom that humanity has been influenced that much. Well, if you notice, the Torah, most of it has been created and generated by shepherds in the desert, in a place of no rain, which means like easy, nice life was not the kind of life that not Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, or even later on, Moses and the children of Israel, neither of them had nice, easy life. It was like the last thing you could say about them, that they had a nice, comfortable, easy life, like they live in a gated community in Florida, especially Palm Beach County. Okay? And you never heard about anything really amazing, kind of like wisdom that changed the history of humanity coming from Palm Beach, Florida. Why? Although, some people will argue with me that life in Palm Beach, Florida are not so easy, okay? What can we say? You can't compare it to the deserts of the Sinai or even to the Israeli life, in which nothing here is easy, okay? The rains are not, more than half a year, no rain. And you want water, you need to, you have to be really resourceful in order to survive in a very hostile environment. And the result that you become a very creative society because there's so many disasters and so much destruction around you that's called the back, Achoraim. Now, let's go back to and we see how it be manifested in the first sentence. VaYehi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana. And Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years. והיו ימי יעקב שני חייו 7 שנים ו40 ומעט שנה. And here we can think about something really amazing, which the Kabbalist is saying, think about it. When Joseph was sold, he was 17 years old, okay? And this 17 is a very powerful number because 17 in Hebrew is tov, good. What does it mean? It means they're arriving to that state of mind of realizing that everything is good. And we see it in this parasha, towards the end of the parasha of VaYehi, when there's an amazing wisdom that is being mentioned over there, that I mentioned it a few times already, and it is connected to the same time of the year that we really need to understand that, and we need to understand it all the time, not just this time of the year. And you can find it in Genesis 50, verse 20, okay, or 19. After the brothers come back from the funeral of Jacob, וילכו גם אחיו ויפלו לפניו, and the brothers of Joseph came to him and they bowed down to him. ויאמרו הננו לך לעבדים, we will be your slaves. Because what we've done to you, we sold you to be a slave and you suffered such a big deal because of us. Verse 19, ויאמר אליהם יוסף, אל תיראו, don't be afraid, כי התחת אלוהים אני, am I instead of God? If you need to be punished, you'll be punished, none of my business. And then he adds verse 20, ואתם חשבתם עלי רע, you thought evil on me, about me. Elohim חשבה לטובה, but God, he thought about me good. Here the word tov appears again. Tov, to remind you, numerical value 17. למען עסוק היום הזה לחיות עמיו, in order to feed a big nation. Because right now, when Jacob goes to, is being buried, it's after they started to multiply so much in Egypt, and they're becoming a whole big nation, not a tribe, a nation, okay? So remember that perception that we reach towards the end of the book of Genesis, which is the biggest lesson of the whole book of Genesis. Here we see all the troubles that Abraham went through. Remember, he insisted not to declare the gods of Ur as the God of the world. He said all of it is fake. And he was ready even to be thrown into the furnace and to lose all his savings and status, whatever, and to become from a very important man in one of the most developed cities in the world. He stood for his principles, and he was thrown in a time, in an age that most people retire in Palm Beach, okay, in a beautiful home, okay, he instead had to become a shepherd in the wilderness. But he was not troubled about it. But he became Avraham Avinu, our father Abraham. How long ago did he live? 4,000 years ago. He's still our father, which means his name is alive forever. And his influence reaches almost every human being today on this planet. And this influence is becoming stronger and stronger. Why? He was willing to go through Ahoraim. What's Ahoraim? The trouble, the confinement, the negativity, the limitation of not having food, not having money, not having any, being in the desert with nothing, just with some sheep and camels and so on, and, you know, trusting God's mercy that will have enough rain so they can find enough water to live for the next day. Same thing with Isaac, same thing with Jacob. And also, the number 17 appears again that Jacob reaches good life 17 years in Egypt. After, in the previous parasha, Parashat VaYigash, when Pharaoh is asking Jacob, how old are you? And Jacob says, I'm 130 years old. My life were very little and very bad. Which means, look at his life. He went through a lot of stuff. Okay? It's enough materials for a bunch of psychologists. What Jacob went through. You know, his brother wants to kill him. His uncle is cheating him, switching the wives, losing his son. You know, one daughter is being raped. This is enough for whole psychology books of post-trauma stuff, right? So, but why 130? What's the number 130? If we go back, we'll read in Genesis that after Adam and Eve sinned, Adam was so shocked from what he has done, he stayed away from Eve for 130 years. 130 years. And through those 130 years, he was controlled by darkness, by negativity, as an extension of his sin. Only 130 years later, notice it that he was in the aftershock, the post-trauma of the sin. He was also away from his wife Eve. He sees his son Cain killing his son Abel. It's like terrible. 130 years old, he finally comes back to Eve and he gets his third son, Shet. That from Shet, humanity started to be built up again. So another time you will have that. Moses, when Jacob and his family move into Egypt, it says in the Midrash, Youdkevitch is being born. On that day, as they come to Egypt, Youdkevitch is being born as they just arrived to Egypt. And what do we read on the next parasha, Parashat Shmot? That when she was 130 years old, Amram marries a second time and she gives birth to Moses. Again, 130 years old. And the moment Moses is being born, it said, and she sees him, Vatar oto ki tovu, that he's good. Tov, 17. So you see this concept. When you want to reach the height of revelation of good and beauty, and especially connection to the Creator, when you want to achieve real, true greatness, you cannot achieve it unless you go through those days that the simple for them is the 130 years. The 130 years, which means you have to go through what it takes. You know, for most people, they don't have 130 years to go through. But we're talking about you have to go to this Egypt, to these moments and days and years that you feel that God turns his back to you. And you know what? You never give up. You never give up. You always say to yourself, like Joseph in the dungeon, like Jacob with all those terrible moments that he sees that, yes, I was born, I was the chosen one. Meanwhile, my father thinks that my brother, who's a cheat and a liar and a murderer, whatever, he is the chosen one. And later on that he's like, what am I doing over here with my uncle who's a cheat and a liar? It's like he was running away from the pan to the frying pan to the fireplace, okay, to the fire. And he's still with Lavan for so many years, and he's being cheated again and again and again. But the point is, whatever we go through, and we never know how long would that take. It takes as long as we go through that time, that the part of our consciousness that is connected, subjugated to what? To Egypt, to the body consciousness, to materialism, to all of that part that is always, the world is divided to people that they want everything for no price, for free, okay? And which they are being called the takers. And there are those people that they know there are no free lunches. And if the moment you know that there are no free lunches, okay, it's the first step for greatness. And that means that you are ready to give whatever it takes. And what does it mean? It is the test that you, in order to become a great human being, you have to go through those moments in which the pain is logically impossible. And although the pain is logically impossible, you continue to say everything is good. Everything is good no matter what. If you're not ready to do that, if you're not ready to pay the price to bear the pain, you cannot achieve real, true greatness, because real, true greatness means you need to reach a revelation that is also called Chai, connecting to the essence of life, which means you have to remember that there's a game of words between to see and to live. Lo yirani adam v'chai. A person cannot see me and live. See. Remember, see is the eyes. The eyes is the level of chokhmah. So we're talking like Kabbalistic word. You have the mouth is malchut. Then you have the nose, Zeir Anpin. Then the ears are bina. Eyes are chokhmah. How many levels? 4 levels from the bottom. Okay? Let's go 4 levels from the bottom on the levels of human consciousness. Nefesh is the lowest level. Okay? Level 2. When somebody is really trying to make the effort, ruach, is the second level. When somebody is really doing a great job, this is neshama, third level. When somebody is really arriving to the level of really connecting to the essence, that's chaya. Chai, again, the 4th level of human consciousness out of the 5, this is the 4th chaya. So you see, it's reya, chokhmah, chaya, it's all connected to the same frequency, which means how do you get to that frequency, which is the ability to see what the physical eyes cannot see, to live what other people do not live. You need to go to that place that is called the hardship. Now, but there is a lesson in that. And the Zohar explains how is that connected to Joseph. Joseph lived 17 years. And it says that Jacob had to see Joseph in order to reach the level of prophecy. So it's again, if we are measuring from another place, okay, 10 Sefirot level, not 5. So if 10 Sefirot So the Zohar explains, Rabbi Ashlag explains, we have to understand, it is already being explained, כבר נתבהר לעיל, שמפאת חטאו של אדם הראשון, because of the sin of Adam, נפלו הכלים והניצוצים של מדרגת החוכמה לקליפת מצרים. The vessels and the sparks of חוכמה fell all the way to that level that is called Mitzrayim, Egypt, which is a klipa. It's a dark force called Egypt, which means the frequency of Egypt was the dark side, but opposite to Chokhmah, which means כי ארץ מצרים מקליפה קשה, because the land of Egypt is a very harsh, dark side force. שזוהמת כל עמים קשורים בה, that the filth of all the nations is connected to Egypt. The center of the filth of all the planet is in Egypt. The center of the holiness of the whole planet is in Jerusalem. It's like two opposite sides. ומשום זה לא היה שם בשמחה. Therefore, Jacob was not very happy being in Egypt because he was in a dark place. Okay? ונודע, however we know, שאין מדרגת החוכמה יכולה להאיר רק בהתקללות עם אורך חסדים. However, that level that is called chokhmah, which is the essence of light, the power of life and the essence of life, of light, remember, it's like two forces that are both the same thing. It's like the intense light, the most intense light that the human being can experience, okay? And it's also, when you experience that, you're really alive. When that level can shine, the only way it can shine, it's only when it is included with the light of chasadim. Chasadim, loving kindness. How do you achieve that level? So, ששום אדם לא יוכל לזכות בחוכמה, אלא מקבלים בהתקלות החסדים. No person can receive that level that is called chokhmah because of its very high intensity, only if this is connected to be included by chasadim. And the one who's receiving both chokhmah and chasadim, he will live. He will really experience life, which means I didn't know I was not alive till now. Now that I feel true life, I know I was dead till now. And most people, they're dead. Why they're dead? It says very clearly, Reshaim b'chayehem nikraim chokhmah. Selfish people are alive, are dead while they're still physically alive. So they look alive, but they're dead. They don't really experience life. How do you know? Look at them. Nothing really satiates them. Nothing really makes them happy. How do you know, says Rabbi Ashlag? When you're really happy, you can't stop making other people happy. And you don't do any accounting. You just do it because you're so happy, you want others to be happy. How many people like this do you know? Not too many. So most people that we know, they're simply dying because of the biggest disease of them all, called selfishness. Very simple. Okay? However, Chai is also something, even if you're American Jew, you know, Chai, that's a number 18, right? Chai is a symbol. The symbol of what? Joseph. How? But just a second, Joseph is Yesod. Yes. When we are talking about the level of Chokhmah, this is the 9th level from the bottom in the tree of life, right? And when we are talking about Joseph, it's a 9th level in the tree of life from the top. So if we count from Keter, 9 from Keter is Yesod, okay? 9 from Malchut is Chokhmah. How is that connected? Oh, very simple. If you draw the light of wisdom, Chokhmah, and you want it to stay without killing you, you need to generate the light of Chasadim, 9 levels up wherever you are, which means you have to get out of your box, out of your comfort zone, out of your easy understanding mind, brain that you grew up with since you've been a kid. You know, that's not my cup of tea. So you have to get out of your cup of tea and your comfort zone and whatever, and devote yourself, as we learn in Parashat Vayigash. Devote yourself to an idea, to a vision that is much bigger than your own personal physical life. When you do it, 9 out of 10, you're not being requested 10. Why? Till the coming of Mashiach, we're not capable of 10. 9 is out. 9 is okay. When you do it at the level of 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, oh, what does it mean? You go up from your own selfish, natural place, away for vision, big enough, exciting enough, powerful enough, which means to help human beings to be redeemed. When you do it, and how do you know you're doing it? You're willing to take the price, discomfort, shame, loss of money, loss of easiness, you know, all of that stuff. People will not be nice to you, whatever, just whatever the price is. You know, when Abraham went to the world with his message, there's one God and everybody's supposed to be happy, and people say, don't shake it. Don't move it. And then you're like, you're making us not uncomfortable. We have to side right now with you. We love you. We're crazy about you. But we're risking our lives by going with you because the king is going to kill us the way he's going to kill you. Okay? So was he popular for announcing that? No, everybody wanted him to stay in the underground. He did not. Okay? What happened to the people that sided with Abraham but didn't dare to go against the government? What was the result? They died. They stayed at home, and Abraham moved on, and they stayed behind. There are those moments that the person has to go with his truth, no matter what the consequences are. And that means when you do that and you go all the way out of yourself, dedicating yourself, devoting yourself, knowing that it's not going to be comfortable, that you're not going to be popular. Now, some people are going to even hate you because you're not their cup of tea. You're not, you're out of their box. They don't understand you. Or simply you're not like what they know. When you go 9 levels out, that's called for caring. And how do you know? You're doing it with caring and sharing and being there for others without waiting for people to say thank you. Like Joseph, okay? He didn't care about, he was feeding his brothers who wanted him dead. Okay? What could be more than that? Why? He had the vision. The nation of Israel has to be established. And you know what? They made a mistake. And you know what? It was God who put the idea in their minds. Why? To send him over to Egypt. Now remember, level 9 out of 10, that's 9 Sefirot. That's Yesod. But 9 Sefirot of returning light. And that's the level of Yosef. The 9 Sefirot of returning light are the power of revealing the 9 Sefirot of the light of wisdom. Okay? So, which means you want it big, you have to share big, you have to get out of your comfort zone big. The seed for greatness is the person's willingness to pay what it takes. It's not going to be comfortable. It's a risk, losing money, losing that popularity. So what? The moment you're doing everything out of loving and kindness, chesed, at the same time, you're not giving up your ideas and your vision. And you don't have to look for vision. The Torah is a good enough vision. Okay? When you do that, you achieve that level of revelation, Okay, everyone in his own level. Revelation, which means being alive, being able to read the Torah, to study the Torah, to connect to God through prayer and study and everyday life stuff, and to really feel that that divine light affects your life most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, that you really feel alive. And then you realize that people that are not willing to devote themselves and they just compromise and compromise and compromise, they're not really alive. They're always, why they're not alive? Because they're always afraid of the pain, always afraid of being disappointed, which is pain. They're always afraid of loss, which is pain, which means they can never get out of their box. So they cannot get out of the pain zone. The pain zone controls them 24/7. And the moment the pain controls you, you're stuck in the box and you're dead. And then you don't know why. You know, I'm doing everything I can, but I'm not happy. I'm not excited about Shabbat. I'm not excited about prayers. I'm not excited about studying. I'm not excited about helping other person. It's like it has no taste. And you know, and the more I do, I'm not excited anymore about Chinese food or Japanese food or Thai food or special chef food and stuff like this and traveling. It's like, what's wrong with me? That I'm not excited anymore because you're dying. Because you just dying inside the box. If you're going to be lucky, you're going to have a Saturnial big shock that is going to knock you out of your comfort zone, not willingly, and then later on, maybe you're going to be thankful for that, or it's going to kill you because you're going to be mourning the loss, comfort that you had, and you're going to be mourning. So, but again, so what's the connection between Jerusalem and Egypt? What did we say? That the sparks of the level of Sfirat Chokhmah, the holiness of Sfirat Chokhmah, after the sin of Adam, where did it go to? It got stuck in the klipa, in the darkness, filthiness of Egypt. Therefore, the Israelites had to go. Jacob and his sons had to go to Egypt. And when they got out of Egypt, they took all of those lost sparks out of Egypt. That was the reason they were sent over there. That was the reason for the slavery. And that was the reason why Pharaoh had to go through 10 plagues in order to release those lost sparks out of Egypt, which means wherever you get stuck into, there's a purpose over there. There's a purpose over there. Okay? But another thing, what is that? One of the major names of the Holy of Holies in Jerusalem is called Nekudat by the Zohar, Nekudat Zion, the point of Zion. Okay? And this is also called Joseph, Sfirat Yesod. Now you see, if the light of wisdom fell into Egypt, the tikkun for it is the holiness of the Holy of Holies in Jerusalem, which is the Yesod. The Yesod coming from where? The Chasadim, going out of your comfort zone. And that's why you cannot achieve that level of the holiness of Jerusalem for free. First of all, only King David merited that level. Not Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, Aaron, and Joseph, they did not reach that place. Only King David. And finally, King Solomon was Yesod, arrived to that level of building the temple in Jerusalem, Nekudat Zion. And then we had to lose it and work for it all over again, lose it working. And no wonder then the name of that historical movement changing everything is Zionism. Although it looks very superficial because it's like, you know, taking lost people that had no country, bring them to a devastated, lost country that had no people, and build them a new home. And after sacrificing so much in order to build that new home, which is Zion. Again, It's all there because without devotion, without sacrifice for a vision, the people who came to Israel for so many years, for we're talking about the people who were Zionists in the 18th century. They were like the students of the Vilna Gaon, the students of the Baal Shem Tov. They had even before the 13th century, the Nachmanides. Okay, all of them came with a pure Zionism. You cannot get to Israel without going through pain, without devotion beyond. It's not going to be comfortable, but you're going to be alive. And therefore, a lot of those people were very high level, which means we're talking about the students of the Baal Shem Tov, the Vilna Gaon. They were like almost prophets. They had like almost prophecy, but they had a very high level. And what they said, that coming to live in Israel we're talking about the 13th century, we're talking about the 16th century, the time of the Arizal and Rabbi Yosef Karo. It was so hard. Talking about the physical hardship. We're talking about the 17th century, the 18th and the 19th century and the 20th. Like there were waves of immigrations to Aliyot to Israel. And all of these people said they had such a high level of wisdom and prayer and holiness in the exile. And when they came to Israel, they lost it. Because that holiness was in the exile. In Israel, it's a different level of holiness. You had to restart working for it. But the moment you work for it in Israel, they said, you reach a level of holiness that your downs are much higher than the biggest highs outside Israel. But only if you have that level of devotion and the passion of willing to give up on your comfort zone, you can really achieve that ability to see, really see, and to be alive, really feel what does it mean to be alive, really alive. Only when you overcome the pain, which means think about the pain that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had to go through. The whole book of Genesis, it's about dealing with pain, dealing with negativity, dealing with the consequences of the sin of Adam, which means the appearance of death here on earth amongst us. And how do you redeem yourself from death and connect yourself to life? Which is a whole thing about right, left, and center, chesed, gevurah, and tiferet, which is the wisdom of the whole previous parashot from Bereshit till now, Parashat VaYehi. It's all about what is the secret of real life, real living. While other people, they think they're alive, but they're not really alive. Why? Because they are enslaved to their fear of experiencing pain. So one person will call that pain rejection. Another one will say it's a fear of failure. Another one is a fear of loss, a loss of health, a loss of money, a loss of other people's appreciation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All of that fear is the box that we are confined in. And as long as we let that control us, we are dead, because fear runs our lives. And the only way to get out of it is simply what Jacob did, what Moses did. They were willing to give everything up. Like Yehuda is bumping into Joseph. They were willing to devote themselves to something so high that gave them the reason to live. As Rabbi Ashlag said, a human being must have two jobs, at least. One job that he has something to live on, and one job that he has something to live for. And if you have a job that you can do both, you're really, really, really lucky. Or you simply worked very hard to achieve that. So only when we do that, and if you're sitting comfortable, next to the lake, with the grass green and the rain is watering it all the time, and the palms are around you and everything is very nice, don't expect wisdom and prophecy. It's not going to be there. Although in Egypt, he had also living by the Nile, and it was also very nice. If you didn't fight like Joseph, he had to fight all the seduction that Egypt offered him, and he could just give in and be part of it, and he never did it. He always saw the vision that his father taught him, the vision to make humanity great forever. And that needs to be step by step, and any price, says the Zohar, that you're being asked to pay, pay it, because the other option is death. Thank you so much, and have a great week.